All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going on a journey to explore the one single story that connects every living thing on this planet: adaptation. We're going to see how this incredible fight for survival plays out everywhere, from inside a tiny grain of rice to the huge expanse of a rainforest and even deep within our own bodies.
So, what do these three things have in common? I know it sounds like a riddle, right? But the answer connects absolutely everything we're talking about today. See, each one is an arena, a battlefield, for an incredible life-or-death struggle to survive. And we're about to see exactly how that fight unfolds.
Okay, so we're going to start our journey at the smallest scale, with the creatures that, kind of secretly run the world, insects. They might be tiny, but don't let their size fool you. Their ability to adapt and thrive makes them some of the most powerful and important engineers on the entire planet.
What I find really fascinating here is that there are always two sides to the story. It's so easy for us to just slap a label on an insect, right? You're either a pest or you're helpful. But it's so much more complicated than that. Take the housefly. Yeah, it can spread some nasty diseases, but at the same time, it's a super valuable subject for researchers in genetics. Or the butterfly. Sure, its caterpillar might chew on a farmer's crops, but the adult butterfly, it's a crucial pollinator and a really important sign of how healthy our planet is.
One of the most incredible adaptations in the entire animal kingdom has to be complete metamorphosis. This four-stage process is just a masterclass in survival. First, you've got the larva stage. Its only job is to eat, and eat, just building up all that energy. Then it enters the pupa stage. And from the outside, it looks like nothing is happening, but inside, a truly miraculous transformation is going on. And finally, the adult emerges, with a totally different body and a brand new mission in life: to reproduce. It's an amazing strategy because it means the kids and the parents aren't even competing for the same food. And check out this number, because it really hammers home the sheer power of insect adaptation. 200. A single tiny female grain weevil can lay up to 200 eggs, and she tucks each one safely inside a grain of rice or corn. It's like a built-in nursery and pantry all in one. This massive reproductive rate is how a creature that's only a few millimeters long can pose a major threat to our global food security. It's all a numbers game, and honestly, the weevil plays it better than almost anyone.
So we've seen how insects have mastered survival on this tiny micro scale. Now, let's pull the camera back, way back. We're zooming out from a single grain of rice to entire ecosystems, Earth's grand arenas, where the rules of survival are written on a much, much bigger scale.
And to really get this, let's look at a tale of two extremes. If the grain weevil's world is all about a numbers game, survival in these huge habitats is a resource game. On one side, you have the tropical rainforest, just drenched in water, more than 2,000 millimeters a year. The big challenge there isn't finding a drink, it's the brutal, relentless competition for a sliver of sunlight. Then, on the complete opposite end, you have the desert, with less than 250 millimeters of rain. The single, all-consuming challenge is just finding water. And these two very different problems lead to completely different blueprints for survival.
All right, first up, let's step into the rainforest. Just imagine it. It's a world that's always damp, full of towering trees, and everything is locked in a constant, slow-motion battle to reach the sun. To make it here, life has to be fast, clever, and really good at handling way too much water.
So, what's in the rainforest survival kit? Well, you've got these incredible leaves with drip tips. They're like perfectly designed little rain gutters that get rid of excess water so fungus can't grow. You've got these massive buttress roots that act like kickstands for giant trees, holding them steady in the thin soil. And then there are plants called epiphytes, like orchids, which have this brilliant hack. Why bother growing from the dark forest floor when you can just grow on another tree to get to the sunlight? And of course, animals have adapted too, with things like prehensile tails that let them use the canopy like a massive three-dimensional highway.
Okay, now let's leave the forest and head to the water's edge, into a lagoon. Now this is a seriously tricky place to live. It's not quite freshwater, but it's not quite the ocean either. The conditions are changing all the time, and to survive here, you have to be incredibly flexible. And the lagoon survival kit is just so cool. You have creatures like crabs and oysters that have mastered something called osmoregulation. It's basically like having a sophisticated internal filter that's constantly adjusting the salt levels inside their bodies to match the water outside. So clever. Other animals just burrow down into the mud to escape predators and the heat. But maybe the coolest adaptation of all belongs to the mangrove tree. It grows these special roots called pneumatophores that literally act like snorkels, sticking up out of the oxygen-starved mud so the tree can breathe. Just amazing.
All right, for our final chapter, we're making the biggest leap of all. We're leaving the outside world behind completely and traveling into the most intimate, most complex habitat there is, the human body. Because inside every single one of us right now, a microscopic battle for survival is raging.
And the key idea here is immunization. It's this beautiful example of adaptation, but with a twist. This is an adaptation that we've actually learned how to engineer ourselves. To put it simply, it's the process of training our bodies to fight off a disease before we ever actually get sick, all by giving it a sneak peek of the bad guy first.
And it's really important to see just how far we've come with this idea. Way back when, the process was called inoculation, and it involved using actual live material from a sick person. It was a huge, risky gamble. Modern vaccination, on the other hand, is an incredibly precise science. We use a safe, weakened, or even just a tiny piece of a pathogen, enough to trigger the alarm, but with zero risk of causing the actual disease. It's a true cornerstone of modern public health.
So how does this training session actually work? Well, it's this brilliant four-step process. First, the vaccine introduces a harmless piece of the enemy, called an antigen. Think of it this way. The antigen is like the enemy's uniform. It's not dangerous by itself, but it's instantly recognizable. Second, your body's special forces, your T cells and B cells, spot this uniform and identify it as an invader. Third, they launch a full-scale response, producing custom-made weapons called antibodies to fight it. But here's the most important part, step 4. Your body creates memory cells. These cells are like a criminal database, holding a permanent record of that enemy's uniform. So if the real bad guy ever shows up for real, your immune system can launch a massive, immediate, and overwhelming counterattack.
And why does this all matter so much? Well, on a personal level, it protects you from some really terrible diseases. But it's so much bigger than just that. When enough of us are immunized, we create a community shield. You might have heard it called herd immunity. This protects the most vulnerable people in our society, like newborn babies or the elderly, who can't get vaccinated themselves. And on a global scale, it's the single most powerful tool we have to control and even completely wipe out deadly diseases, making the entire world a safer place for all of us.
So there you have it. From the life cycle of a tiny grain weevil, to the breathing roots of a mangrove tree, to the incredible memory of our own immune system, the story of life is truly the story of adaptation. But the challenges never stop. The rules are always being rewritten, which leaves us with one last big question to think about. What will be our next great adaptation?